Well now, thought for the day, 20th of February. I've been reading the second letter of the Apostle Paul to Timothy, and towards the end of that small letter there are references to people. I think that the Apostle Paul is regarded as full of doctrine and all sorts of highbrow stuff, and not interested in people. That's manifestly untrue. He is very interested in people. He mentions Demas. He was vulnerable in his association with people, and Demas has left him, having loved this present world. He mentions Crescens, who's gone to Galatia, and Titus, who's away to Dalmatia, and Luke, who is with him, and Mark. He urges Timothy to bring him. And Tychicus he is sent to Ephesus, and Carpus to Troas. Prisca and Aquila, he mentions them. Onesiphorus and his household he mentions. Erastus, staying at Corinth. Trophimus, at Milesia sick. Eubulus sends his greetings with the Apostle Paul, as does Pudens and Linus and Claudia and all the brethren. It's a reference to the widespreading and perfectly splendid association that the Apostle Paul had with people. The wickedness of Alexander the coppersmith he mentions, alongside the fact that at his own first defense, the Apostle Paul had no one with him. And possibly, very possibly, that has something to do with the fact that the authorities regarded the Apostle Paul as a casual victim of their justice. I think that the wickedness of Alexander the coppersmith is probably because of the worship of God, which was at the heart of the Apostle Paul's ministry. The key to fellowship with each other is fellowship with God. The fellowship with God is mysterious and marvelous. It draws the soul upward. Fellowship with each other can easily be predictable and ordinary and, well, full of bits and pieces. Fellowship with each other can bypass the mysterious, the marvelous, the upward surging of the soul. And the key to fellowship is our fellowship with God. The presence of God will gather to itself the poise and loveliness of God. The presence of God will be a light shining upon the way forward. The breath of God engages one soul so that it catches fire, and this spreads out among all the others. The breath of God calls forth the mind to think, the will to choose, the passion to desire, the sinews of the body and of the soul to do, and more than that, to be in the will of God. And all of that is the way in which the apostle loved people. He loved them because of the love of God in him. But towards the end of the letter, the apostle makes 3 separate appeals for Timothy to come to him. He's in prison, and so he's longing for Timothy to come to him. In chapter 4, verse 9, be diligent to come to me quickly. In verse 11, get Mark and bring him with you. In verse 13, bring the cloak I left with Carpus at Troas when you come, and the books, and especially the parchments. Verse 21, do your utmost to come before winter. Timothy was a beloved son, or as he writes in the first letter, a true son in the faith. And Paul and Timothy loved each other. The two of them rejoiced in each other's company because deep down their personal bond and relationship was with God. And this was primary. This was the first matter regarding both of them. We think of God as glorious. We think of the Apostle Paul as communicating the truth of God. And that's true. It's perfectly true. The Apostle Paul, along with the other apostles, made the way of God known to us. But we must, I think, get beyond that to the fact that Timothy and Paul rejoiced together in the truth that Paul had shown to Timothy. We think of the apostle as communicating truth. Indeed, that's true. But we must come to the truth itself, to the truth believed, to the truth opened up and explained, to the truth of the love of God, the passionate embrace of God the Spirit upon us, showing us the matchless grace of God. The truth comes beyond all our thinking. We ask and think, but the truth comes beyond that. According to the power that works in us. To him, writes the apostle, be glory in the church by Jesus Christ to all ages forever and ever. I mean, that's the level of their communication with each other. They loved each other because they loved the truth. Oh, the depth of the riches, both of the wisdom and knowledge of God. How unsearchable are his judgments, and his ways past finding out. And if we would reach to that level of communication with each other because of our communion with God. I think that we must delve deeply into the grace of God, into the love of God, into the ways that God has reached us and broken through and captured us by the sovereignty of his matchless grace. Well, there you are. That's what I ask you to think of. May God bless you. Good night.